What's up, guys? This is a different concept today. So, I've always thought about recording a solo podcast, like actually talking about something, not rather randomly just like drinking a bunch of beers like I used to do on the Six Pack podcast. Let me get a swig. Hold on. So, where we've rolled through like the branding change to the Fed show, and that kind of got narrow. So now I'm going to start playing around with the different concept of what I really want to call this show. If I really want to just name it something about myself or another concept. But I think the Fed show, had a conversation with a buddy, and the concept of the Fed show is great, facing and embracing demons, but that needs to be a segment on a show rather than the whole concept of a show. Because let's be honest, the mental health aspect of the Fed show, the mental health aspect of the Six Pack podcast was great. And it will be something that I continue to talk about because I am passionate about the mental health aspect of what's going on with us as a society and the issues that come up with it, whether it be horrific incidents like we've had in the news recently, whether it be depression, anxiety, thoughts of suicide. Those concepts are always going to be important to me as an individual, as a human being. And I do think that moving forward that I do want to keep talking on those, but I don't know if I can continue at a normal pace to let's just keep running with the Fed show. Let's keep running with always being on mental health. So we need to explore other avenues, and we can continue to meet with artists and have other guests on and discuss different topics. So the concept of that, this is just going to be the random thoughts of Rob right now. But shout out to Random Thoughts, the guy with the check on your friends stuff on Instagram. Go check that dude out. But that's not my official name, what I'm going to call this from now on. Right now, we're just kind of swashbuckling. So, currently, let's just talk about where I'm at. So, we're about 2 days out from my court date for my DWI hearing. And we're rolling, paying the attorney money, getting things situated, got the breathalyzer in the car with the whoo, so I can actually drive my car places, figuring out the license situation. And I'll tell you off top, this whole DWI situation is crazy complicated, and no one ever told me that's ever had one before that it was just like, no one ever explained fully what you have to go through. I'd never been to jail before. I had never talked with an attorney about anything other than speeding tickets. So the concept of me having to break down and sit there and talk with someone about every little thing that happened that night. Did I refuse to did I refuse to take a breathalyzer for the officer? Did they take blood and check my blood alcohol that way? No one ever talks about any of that shit. And the reason they don't talk about it is because normally you're drunk and you don't remember. So, I want to run through some of that, like what actually happens with the DWI. So, first off and foremost, when you get a DWI, you go to jail. They either take your license or they don't. They confiscate it. So I'm in the process of getting my license returned back to me. I can't even buy alcohol right now if I wanted to. I can't go to nightclubs. I can't get in. No one will let me in because I don't have identification telling you that I'm over the age of 21, even though there's white in my beard and my hairline is working on receding. So when you go through the process, then you have to find an attorney. Normally, you want the higher up attorneys on Google because they're the ones that actually make the money to advertise. So I'm working with the Coffee Law Firm here in Fort Worth, and I'm going to tell you, you're in the thousands of dollars right off top. Thousands. $5,000 for representation. There's other ways to get lower representation, different attorneys, different associates, different prices. But off the top, you want to get an attorney about $5,000. Everything doesn't happen all at once. You don't just get to oh, here's the money and I'll make payments, and then the attorney has to be paid in full for the representation fee before they actually start processing and working on your case, where you get in front of a judge and there's actually a conversation happening. But in the meantime, you get to pay for a breathalyzer to be installed. You get to pay your monthly fees to the court or your probation officer or your bail bondsman. All that process goes into effect. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. First court date coming up. So hell yeah, throw up horns. It's going to be great. So that's one thing that I'm dealing with right now in life. And of course, like I do have three sons, the coolest kids you'll ever meet, and they're with their mom right now. Every other week I get them, so when I have them, we do cool shit, and when I don't have them, I'm recording a podcast, or I'm working out, or I'm hanging out with friends drinking water while other people drink alcohol. So it's a lot to take in, a lot to process. I did the 21 days with no monsters, no cokes, no nothing, and I went back to drinking monsters. But the big topic that I wanted to get into today is there's some background stuff that I've opened up with about people, and this isn't like my personal life and all that. This is more or less on the lines of my religious beliefs. So I was raised predominantly like non-denominational. We attended churches when I was younger. I went to private school until I was in 8th grade. And there was always a sense of right and wrong, God and the devil, good and evil. That was always imprinted on me at a young age. Even if, like, when I was with some family, I would go to a Catholic church. With other family, we would go to a Baptist church, Southern Baptist church. Some only had accordions and we clapped our hands, and it was like a cappella thing. So I've been exposed to a lot of it. Early on in life, I got married very young in the church, and kind of pressured. Not pressured, but to get right with God, you should be married according to the church. I served at the church, children's ministry, youth group, men's meetings. I think I preached one sermon that I thought was really long, and it was like 17 minutes. But sometimes when you're talking by yourself, you talk really fast like this, and I think I did that when I was up there. But I thought I had a whole lot more, but I didn't. But anyways, that's just a little background on me in religion. I've bounced around a lot of churches here in Fort Worth. I was set in stone at a church for a long time, and it wasn't working out there. So it's not that our relationship with the church wasn't working out. It was the process of having a building, and we were like a nomadic church. So I went to a church that was in downtown Fort Worth. I'm not going to name names of churches or pastors, and it's not to badmouth anybody. It's just my experience with churches and my experience and my relationship with God right now. So, been to some of the bigger churches here in Fort Worth. Kind of like was hesitant to get heavily involved after being so heavily involved in one church. Then I kind of became I was like a lead usher, or a second up to the lead usher. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I was serving in a church. I bought into the process. I bought into the belief of what they were trying to do, what they were trying to build. So I was there, and stars are tied 0-0. Random sports update. So I put my time in at churches. I served part of the community, made friends, had a lot of friends in the church. Don't talk to any of those people anymore now that I'm not in church. So this past Sunday, I made the cognitive decision. I told myself Saturday midday, I'm going to church tomorrow. So I visited a church on Sunday. It was in my Instagram stories. I talked about it. That the pastor that was there, he said, "Look, guys, we're going to pray over the offering." And he goes, "If you find yourself in need of food or shelter, when the bucket passes you, take what you need." And I was literally blown away, because I have been in churches. I was raised in church, and I've never heard a pastor at any point in any sermon at any given time, even churches that had benevolence ministries, which a benevolence ministry, if you don't know, is where you go to the church office, you tell them you need help with your bills, and then they give you $75 or $100, or they help you out in whatever way they can, whatever funds they have that they can provide. I've been involved with churches that have those kind of ministries, but I'd never heard a pastor legitimately say, "Hey, if you need the money, take it out of that bucket. You have my permission." And so it's kind of hard to surprise a guy who's been in church before, but I was genuinely surprised when I heard that. Heard the message. The series that they were teaching on was I've been there. But basically it was the concept and the talk about if just being underappreciated. Like, you feel like you do a lot. You feel like you do everything. You feel like you do too much. You feel like sometimes no one acknowledges what you're doing. And it was a good message for Mother's Day, because sometimes our moms go unappreciated, and sometimes we need to do a little bit more for them. Not just the fact of, oh, it's Mother's Day, let me take you out to eat. It's Mother's Day, let me tell you Happy Mother's Day. Buy that woman some flowers randomly. Go out of your way. And this was another topic that came up in conversation. When I was married, the mother of my children, I did go out of my way to buy her something for Mother's Day, not just from the kids, but from me, and more or less like a thank you, this is what you mean to me concept, not, or thank you for being the mother of my children concept, not like, hey, I'm just getting you a gift to say, well, because the concept of it is some people only buy gifts for their mom. And it came up in conversation over this past weekend. Hey, did you buy your wife something at the time for Mother's Day? And I did, but everyone doesn't. So there's a weird question for you. Do you buy your mom something for Mother's Day and also your wife, or just your mom? Yeah. So y'all answer that. I'll make a reel out of that or something. But yeah, this is a crazy concept of me talking to myself, because there's no one in this room. There's a backdrop, there's a computer, a microphone, a monster, my vape, and me. So back to the church thing. So I visited this church, and I'm going to continue going. I look back at my life, and you have time to examine some things when you're in jail and you've messed up the way that I did. So I got to the point where now I'm thinking, when in my life was my best mental state? When was I best mentally, like sound mind? When was I best emotionally, spiritually? Those avenues in my mind take me back to when I was at my happiest, or I felt like I was the most put together, and I revert back to my time at church. Not revert back to my time when I was married at church. Revert back to my time at church. And I always feel like, I talked about it before, when I did do marriage counseling through the church, the concept was clear. It was a pyramid. This is you, this is your spouse. As you grow closer to God, you grow closer together. I'm going to kill the pyramid, and I'm going to go like this. This is you, this is God. Get closer. And that's it. In my life, I've realized that I do react differently to situations when I'm involved in the church. I do have a better mindset when I do have a relationship with God, like an ongoing conversation. I've never been one of those guys that would cry out in prayer, and I'm just there like praying and constantly like, I've never been that guy. I've always been the kind of guy, just like when you're going through everyday life, son of a bitch, what the fuck is this? Like that kind of, who are you talking to? You're talking to yourself? I always felt like I was talking to God. Like, so when something was going on, like, man, why is this happening right now? I was actually asking God a question, like, why am I going through this right now? Not just the concept of me just talking out loud. And it helps me feel more sane, because I do talk to myself a lot. But in all reality, when I was in jail, or when I found my weakest moments, when things were all about to fall apart, I still felt like I was asking God, why am I here? Why am I in this situation? How did I get here? And how do I get out of this? So for me, in my mentality and my sanity, I'm going to start going back to church. And I'm going to take my kids when I have them. And I'm going to become a member of the church community, whatever that means. I'm going to ease my way back in. But I do feel like my life was better off when I was closer to God. And man, I'm going to tell you what, praise and worship songs, they still hit me right between the eyes. So this, don't even know how long this was, don't even know what exactly this concept is, but I do want to be at the point where I can comfortably have these kind of conversations with whoever wants to listen, and just kind of ramble a little bit about what I'm thinking and thought processes that I'm going through right now, and just kind of work through my own shit this way. Rather than pay someone, maybe I'll just talk to myself. But the concept of the Fed show isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I'm still going to interview people. We're still going to have conversations. We actually have a couple of interviews this week. We still want to get into mental health issues, but I think the name of this does have to change, or maybe we rework the concept. But I don't want anyone to think that I'm going anywhere, because I just enjoy doing this. It makes me feel good to be able to talk to myself in a room, with or without a person, in front of a camera. And honestly, I don't even know if I hit record on this, so I could have been talking to myself the entire time. But I am going to sign off. I'm going to take a swig of this Monster. I'm going to take a vape, and then I'm going to hit stop, and then I'm going to cut and edit video, and see what the response is to this. See if anybody likes it, or if they just think I'm a crazy person. But until next time, stay fed and talk shit in the comments if you feel like it.